Hello, this is Julie Bozza. I work with Larmer Brown and we're presenting some webinars here, 2 webinars about the new features of UPK 12.1. The first one, which you're listening to now, is all about the conceptual and complex content, and the second one is about simulation content. There is some overlap between the two, but we thought it good to break things down a little. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is the web page editor, which is significantly improved over previous versions of UPK and enables you to have a lot more flexibility in how you present your content. So mostly we'd be using web pages for the concept panes of topics, sections and modules. So if you have to think about the sort of content you might present there, the new features that we can present it with include fully formatted tables, bullets which now come in multiple levels, so they used to only be at one level, and you can also customise the bullet images. Web pages now use styles, so just as in a Word document, you can have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 styles, and then you can use those to consistently format your content throughout. And there are also styles associated with things like tables and bulleted lists. There's other additional formatting options, including strike-through, subscript and superscript. And there's a find and replace function within the web page editor. So that used to only be at the top level in the library or outline editor, but now you can just do a find and replace within a particular web page. So these features are available for all online outputs, so you know all these appear in the player, but they can also appear in all the document outputs that include the concept pane or other web page use. So there's a lot more functionality, but it's been done in a way that it's safe to then output it both in the player and in your document outputs. So we might just have a quick look at it. I've prepared a topic just giving some examples. Okay, so this is having a look at a web page editor. This is how it appears. We've got some content in here which we'll have a look at. As I said, you can now have multi-level lists. We'll just make this 5 levels deep, and all those can be formatted, all the 5 levels can be formatted separately. So we can also include tables. If I click where I want to insert the table, and then click the toolbar button here, we get the table properties dialog box. Now, at any time we can come back and edit the settings that we create here, but it's a really good way of defining the table as you're creating it. So we can define the numbers of rows and columns and whether it has headers or not, whether it has a border, how wide it is, all those things. And then you can come back and edit those as necessary. So in this case, I'm going to change that default number of columns from 2 to 3. Just by changing that figure. We're also going to define the table headers. You can choose to have column headers, row headers, or both. In this case, we just want column headers. So once we're happy that we've set up the table the way we want it to be, you click the OK button and the table appears. So that's really handy, and as I said, you can go back in and edit any of those properties as you wish. So we're just going to enter some dummy content with one click, like magic, and we're now going to use that to demonstrate how the find and replace works. So that's available just from this toolbar button. The find and replace dialog box will, function in ways you're familiar with from other applications. So in this case, we're going to look for all instances of the word cell and replace them with the word sample. In this case, we're just going to choose to replace all. So we can see in the background there that that's done so, and it comes back and tells us how many replacements it's made. So I acknowledge that, close the dialog box, and there it is. So that's explored some of the features of the web page editor, and we'll now have a bit of a look about how you can use style sheets to format your web pages. So the style sheet editor is completely new to UPK 12.1, and the style sheet editor is specifically looking at how to style web pages consistently across the whole project. So all web pages by default now are associated with the standard style sheet, and you can choose to either update that standard style sheet or add new styles to it or create an entirely new customized style sheet. And you can have more than one, of course, so you can have some web pages associated with one style sheet and other web pages associated with another one, different style sheets for different projects, you name it. We've got lots of flexibility here. So as I mentioned before, when we're looking at the web page, each element in a web page has a style associated with it. By default, text is given the normal style. You can apply a hierarchy of heading styles to text, and then elements such as images, tables and bullets have their own styles as well. And all of that you can control using a style sheet, and you can make them consistent therefore throughout a project or throughout all your content. So the formatting of each style is managed within the style sheet, and that is things such as the applicable font, the font size, font colour, the background colour for the text, borders for whatever elements you've chosen, indents, padding and so on. All of these things are formatted using a style sheet editor, and it actually uses CSS code, so it's cascading style sheets, but you don't need to know how to code. This is all done in a what you see is what you get interface. So just as in when you're working with Word, you can go in there and use styles and make things bold just by clicking a button. You don't have to know how to code making something bold, so that's really good. Okay, so then any change you make in the future to a style sheet, that formatting will automatically flow on to all content associated with that style. So that's another really strong point. You're not needing to go and update every single web page individually. You can just do it via the style sheet editor. Also, you can create multiple styles for one element. So, for instance, you can have a default table style, or you can have an alternate table style as well, and then you can decide in any particular case which of those styles you apply to a table. If you have two different tables in one web page and you want to apply different styles to each, that's perfectly fine. And you can also create styles that apply to specific document outputs, so ones that only apply to job aids, for instance, or to specific languages. So you could have a different style for a German web page as opposed to an English web page. So if we go in and have a bit of a look about how that works. So this is the web page that we were having a look at in the previous topic, and it's linked by default to the standard style sheet. You can see that listed up there. So that's just your basic one that's provided with UPK. It also reflects any browser default. So depending what browser you're using, it will pick up the browser's standard way of presenting a heading or text. Okay, so in this particular web page we currently have some normal styled text, a bulleted list and a table, and we can format all of these styles and more using a style sheet. So in this example we're going to apply a couple more styles and make some headings, and then we're going to create a new style sheet that links to this web page. So our cursor is currently in this first paragraph here, and we're just going to make that our heading 1 style. Okay, so as we can see here, it's just picking up some defaults from the browser, such as a font size of 20 point and a style of bold and so on. So we can control that by creating a style sheet and linking that instead. So we're now going to move to the second paragraph. and make that our heading 2 style. So now that we have all these styles applied in the web page, we can create a new style sheet to actually format them. So we use the file menu and new, you'll see that style sheet is one of the many options in creating a new document. So just as we create a new module or section, we can also create a new style sheet. And here's our blank new style sheet, which just includes a document style, so that's your basic text style, and that's all it contains. So we can add other styles to it now. Okay, so here we are adding a heading 1 style. So this is us defining what heading 1 is going to look like. We'll give it a name, in this case sample heading 1. Confirm that. Now, when a style is selected, it has this light blue background to the heading. So once it's selected, we can then use the toolbar buttons to actually apply some formatting. So we're using code, but we're not actually having to code to do it. We can use these buttons and drop-down lists in the toolbar up here to make our styling work. So in this case, we're going to apply a font. In this case, we're going to apply Georgia with serif as a backup font. Okay, and our preview has immediately updated to display that setting. In this case, we want to enter a font size, so you could either choose that from the drop-down menu or just type it in. Again, the preview updates right away. We can now change the text colour. So this little colour dialog box looks quite different to what we're used to. We've got the basic colours up here, web colours, and then if we want to define one specifically, if we click on more colours, it opens up the opportunity to type in an RGB value or a hexadecimal. But in this case, we want to go with teal. Okay, and it's applied immediately. Now, in our examples, the web page also included text with a heading 2 style, bulleted lists, and table styles. And all these styles can be created and formatted in the same way in the style sheet. But rather than step you through that, we'll skip those steps and just create them with one click, as if by magic. So here we have our table style, our bulleted list, and our heading 2 style. And you can see exactly what they're going to look like in the previews there. Okay, and we've now also saved our style sheet. We've just named it the sample style sheet. You can save a style sheet anywhere in the library. So in this instance, we've chosen to save it in the same location as the standard style sheet, which is in the system folder. But you could instead save it with your particular project files in a project folder if you wanted. It doesn't matter where it's stored. Okay, so we're just going to close the style sheet now. We're back in our web page, and what we want to do is change the style sheet that is associated with this web page. So at the moment it's the standard one. We're now going to browse, and there's our new sample style sheet that we created. I'll click open, and immediately, as soon as the style sheet's linked to the web page, all the text formatting is updated. So we could now link that same style sheet to any web page we like, and the formatting will be updated, and any change in the style sheet will automatically flow through to every web page. So that's really powerful stuff. Okay, so that's the end of that topic. And our next subject is another really powerful tool that is new to UPK 12.1, and it's the screenshot overlay. So what this feature enables you to do is create an overlay for one or more frames in a topic, and it does that by taking the topic out of the topic editor and into PowerPoint. And you can use all the graphic and images, drawing tools, all those sorts of things available in PowerPoint are available for you to edit the topic. and it's doing that by creating a layer that sits over the top of the screenshot. So in that way, it's not a destructive editing process. It's in a separate layer, so whatever you do won't affect the actual screenshot itself. It's just about what the end user will see. So you might use this to add a corporate logo to all the frames in a topic, or on one particular frame you might want to draw attention to a particular screen element, or you can use this feature to mask any sensitive data on a screen, or to repurpose a copy topic for a different organisation. There's a whole lot of things that you can do with this. It's really powerful. Okay, and as I said, it's a non-destructive way of editing, so later on, if you need to recapture a screenshot, you can just recapture the screenshot itself, and it doesn't affect what's in the overlay layer. So that still exists. You don't have to recreate it, but you can go back into PowerPoint and amend that as well if you need to, or amend it separately. So if we have a look at how that works. Okay, so here we are in our topic editor. In this example, we're editing a topic that is about a process in Excel, but the spreadsheet that we're using as an example includes some performance bonus data. So we want to mask the names and IDs in the spreadsheet. And what we're going to do is use screenshot overlay to do that, so that it's not destroying the screenshot itself. And we're also going to add a corporate logo to the topic, just as another example of something we can do. Okay, so all we need to do to transfer the topic from UPK into PowerPoint is to click the Create Overlay button. Now, the very first time you do that, or the first time anyone does that on your particular computer, you will need to download and install the software, but that's a guided process. It's literally 2 clicks and a couple of minutes and you're done. So it's fairly straightforward. I've already done that, so with one click I take my topic into PowerPoint. Okay. So the first thing we'll notice is that the first slide in PowerPoint is this guideline slide, and that's a really handy reminder of the things that you can and can't do in PowerPoint. So you can, for instance, place shapes on any slide, copy shapes between slides, create call-outs to draw attention to things. So you can do all of these things, including if you edit or add slide notes. So slide notes in the field down the bottom here, that is equivalent to the author notes in the topic. So that's another thing you can do. However, what you can't do, for instance, is if you suddenly realise that you need to delete a frame from the topic, you can't do that by deleting a slide in PowerPoint. You have to go back to the topic editor and do that. You can't reorder slides in PowerPoint and take that back to the topic editor. It just doesn't work. So there's a number of things here that you can't do. But what we're really interested in here, the use of images, graphics, and the drawing tools associated with them. So that's the strength here. Okay, so we can just use the thumbnails here to navigate to the frame we wish to edit. So each frame has become a slide in PowerPoint. In this case, we're going to start by adding our logo. So we go to the Insert tab on the ribbon and then click Picture. And we find our logo and insert it. Okay, so by default it drops into the middle of the screen. And we can just move that about, resize it, use all the sorts of things, all the picture tools here that PowerPoint has available. In this case, we're just going to drag it off to the corner of the screen here. Now we can choose whether that's just an edit that only applies to this screen or frame, or we can copy it to other frames. So in this example, we want to copy it to all the frames in the topic. So if you click this Overlay Editor tab, you'll realise that that's unique to this tool. It's not something you find generally in PowerPoint. We've got the option here, while the graphic is selected, to copy it to all frames, or to copy to previous and copy to next. So between them, you know, these are the things you can use to have that same graphic appear throughout. In this case, you want to copy it to all frames. And as you'll have seen on the thumbnails, we can just see the preview of it appearing on all frames there. Okay, so now we want to mask the names and IDs, and we're just going to go back to our Insert tab, and in this case we're going to add a shape. And as you can see from those shapes, you can use any of these to do whatever you like within the slides. You can add the call-outs and the banners and what have you. In this case, we're just going to be doing something very straightforward and using a rectangle to mask the names and IDs here. So basically, once I've selected that, I just click and drag to cover the area I wanted to cover. We can edit that, we can move it, resize it. We can use the drawing tools. In this case, we've used the drawing tools, the shape fill and the shape outline, to make the colours a little more neutral. Okay, again, we want to go to the Overlay Editor and specify where we want this to apply. So as we can see, it's only on the current slide at the moment, but we want to copy it across to all slides. Okay, so now that's done, all we have to do now is save and close, and it takes the topic back into the topic editor. And as we can see, there's our mask over the confidential data there, and there's our logo. And they appear to be on the screenshot, but they're not. They're in the layer on top of the screenshot, so the two things are kept quite separate. So that's the end of my topic about screenshot overlay, and I bet you're imagining all the different things that you can do with that back in your own work. Okay, so there's a few more little functional things we're going to cover here now. Those are the three exciting big things. But one thing I think will be very useful is that in earlier versions of UPK, you could only preview a topic from the outline editor. So you always had to have an outline, even if it was just rudimentary, and you always had to open the outline editor before you could preview a topic. But you now can preview a topic directly from the library. So the preview list of options and the Go button will look entirely familiar to you. But here we are in the library with the topic selected. So that's quite different, and it's just going to save us a bit of time, I think. We're going to be more efficient. Okay. Another thing that will help us save a bit of time is the context ID search. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the idea that when you're recording of large applications such as Oracle Financials or SAP HR, each frame has a context ID associated with it in the target application, and UPK is recording that. Well, this allows us now to search for other topics and other frames that use the same content from that target application. So if, for instance, our target application, there's been a change to a particular frame, there's a new button, there's a new bit of functionality that we want to capture, what we can do is look through all of our UPK content and find all the topics that use that frame. And we do that by searching for the context ID. So I think that's really powerful stuff. We can search from the library, the outline editor, or the topic editor. How we sort of get the search started is a little bit different in each of those cases. For instance, if we were searching from the library, what we'd do is click the button, and it will take us to the target application where we'd have the relevant screen showing, and then you just hit print screen, and it will record the context ID as that's the thing that you need to search for. If we're in the topic editor, as we'll see in a minute, it will pick up the context ID of whatever the current frame you have showing is. So once you've picked up the context ID that you want to use in the search, you perform the search, and then you get a list of topics that include one or more frames with that context ID. And then if you expand that out, you'll find that it even tells you exactly which frame IDs are affected. So that's really getting down into the nitty-gritty detail. So if we have a quick look at how that works. So here we are in our topic editor. We've got a frame showing, and this is the specific screen for which we want to search for other examples of based on the context ID of the current frame. Okay, so next to our context ID button, we now have this new Find Context button. And what that does is open up this context ID pane down the bottom here. So the first thing we want to do, context search pane, sorry. So the first thing we want to do is specify where we want to search. So this is the find in list. If there's no options there already, then you click other, and we specify I want to search in a folder or I want to select specific documents. Okay, now here's what you'd recognise as our library structure. So in this case, what we want to do is search through everything that's in this folder, the Oracle EBS folder. So this is just specifying the location of our search. Obviously, we don't need to go searching in these other folders. We just want to focus on the one. So we click OK. So it's picked up the context ID from the frame itself. We've told it where to search. Now we go and perform the search. And it's come back with a list of topics that contain frames with the same context ID. There's print functionality. So there's a fair bit we can do here, including expanding that so that we can see specific frames. So we know that frame 5 is something we need to replace or edit. And we can open that particular topic in the topic editor simply by double-clicking the name. So there it is, it's open, it's ready for editing, and the context search pane is still here, so we can specifically go to that frame ID 5, and do whatever we need to do. And that's the end of that topic. Okay, so that's something about finding specific topics and looking for things based on the context ID. There are other functions here that also relate to finding topics or other documents based on certain criteria. And one of them is this new feature called derived documents pane. So this is entirely new. A derived document is pretty much defined as any topic that's been created by using case special to duplicate an existing topic. It becomes a derived document because it's been derived from that original topic. Now, I should note that this doesn't work if you've created new topics using save as or a paste special copy. So derived documents specifically looking at duplicated documents. So again, if there's been a change in one of those topics, then you might find it useful to be able to see what other topics have been derived from that, or what other topics it was derived from, just as a way of tracking down, or what other topics might need to be edited in the same way. And this includes, for instance, topics that are created as part of a localization or translation process. So you'll see in the derived documents pane that it does state the language. And if we have the document in English, we might find that other topics have been derived from it for the other languages, and they're all things that we need to edit perhaps as a result of finding whatever changes we want to make in the original topic. So with any document selected in the library or the outline editor, you can open the derived documents pane, and the upper pane is specifying what documents have been derived from the currently selected document. So this is updating performance bonuses in this case has been derived from recalculating performance bonuses, which is the one we've selected. And then the lower pane is which topic was used to derive the currently selected topic. So it's going back up the chain, if you see what I mean. So the fact that these are round this way, the upper and lower panes, to me that's sort of like counterintuitive. But as long as you read this and remember that it does explain what it means, I think again that's a pretty powerful tool. And still with the idea of searching, the Find in Library function has been expanded, so there's more ways of using this. So in either the related documents or derived documents panes, there's now Find in Library option, and this will enable you to go directly to that correct place within the library, the correct folder, and the document you're looking for will be highlighted. So here we are in a related documents pane, and we've got a section selected, and we can choose to either open it in the editor or go and find it in the library. And those two options are also available via buttons here. You can either right click and use those, or you can select it and use these buttons. Just scrolling down a bit. So this is our related documents dialog box, and you might call this up many times. So whenever you've got a link saying view related documents, this is what appears if you click on that link, and the link might appear in spell check, find and replace, export, check in, check out. It appears in many places. Well, the information has been expanded to not only have the name and the type of the document, but also provide the library path. So you can see this isn't a functional find in the library thing, but you can see where it is, and that might be enough to help. So those last three have all been very much about searching for and tracking down documents, which I think are really good features as your library expands and you're covering more than one project. Now, I don't have anything to show you for this one, but just to note that UPK 12.1 continues to expand its support for mobile devices and specifically for Apple iPad, but they're covering now touchscreen type devices. So if your end users are using the content through their mobile devices that only use touchscreens, or center around touchscreens, you'll find that the player outline and the knowledge center and play modes in all topics are now much more touch friendly. In particular, any UPK content launched for LMS is now supported on Apple iPad as well. And then finally, for this presentation, we have a new navigation control system for see it mode. So this has been significantly redesigned. I think it's a lot better, a lot more intuitive. I think a lot of the functionality was there, but you had to go via the actions menu in the bubble and things like that. And a lot of users just wouldn't have found that at all intuitive, I don't think. So these controls are now much more familiar. We'll probably just instinctively know how to use them based on our experiences in watching videos on the computer or online. So we have these step forward and step backward buttons, so that takes you from one step of the topic to the next, or one frame. You can pause or resume playback. This takes you back to the beginning of the topic, so a restart. and then you have this visual indicator of where you are within the entire topic. Volume is the sound involved, and again, an idea of where you are within the topic just based on the seconds in given each frame in see it mode. We're now 31 seconds through a topic that would otherwise last 1 minute and 4 seconds. So it's all really handy. And then this button at the end is a drop-down menu, so depending where you are or what's available within that particular topic, the user can also click that to access any other options via a menu. So I hope you found that useful. There's a whole lot of interesting stuff that's been developed for 12.1. We've also got a presentation based on the simulation content, and that should be available to you as well. We also run training courses, upgrade training courses, which can go through all this in a lot more detail. So thank you for your time.